Imagine a map that ignores the actual location of rivers or mountains to show you exactly where your soul belongs in the universe. This is the 1300 Mappa Mundi. At its dead center, you find Jerusalem. Here, theology dictated reality. This layout mirrored medieval society's three estates: clergy, nobility, and commoners, a closed system where social class was fixed from birth. When your geography and your social status are both ordained by God, there is no reason and no room for individual advancement. But by the late 16th century, that static perspective was replaced by a world bursting with observable physical data. Urbano Monte's 1587 map is a mathematically plotted expanse, built on navigation and measurement rather than scripture. This shift was the direct result of a slow-burn technological revolution that spent centuries dismantling the old feudal order from the ground up. This transition didn't begin with a grand intellectual movement. It started in the dirt of northern Europe. Farmers began using the carruca, a heavy wheeled plow capable of slicing through dense, rocky soil. They paired it with a rigid horse collar that rested on the animal's shoulders, allowing horses to pull much heavier loads than the old throat harnesses allowed. They also adopted the three-field system of crop rotation, leaving only a third of the land fallow each year. This allowed the soil to recover nutrients while increasing food production by as much as 50%. The data shows a clear correlation. As agricultural yields climbed, the European population spiked along with them. Because a single farmer could now feed multiple families, millions were freed from the land, creating the first fracture in the rigid hierarchy of the commoner estate. This newly mobile workforce migrated to rapidly growing towns and cities, concentrating labor away from the old feudal manors. These centers utilized mechanized water power to drive new industries. Water wheels powered timber sawmills, grain mills, and heavy metallurgical bellows for forging iron. This industrial growth created an entirely new demographic, a merchant and artisan class that generated liquid wealth through trade and manufacturing. For the first time, economic power was decoupled from land ownership, stripping the nobility and the clergy of their exclusive control over society's resources. The tools of daily life followed this shift toward measurement. The mechanical clock moved society away from the divine time of church bells and toward precise hours dictated by industrial productivity. On the seas, the dry compass allowed merchant ships to navigate open water reliably, opening trade routes entirely outside the jurisdiction of local lords. Then, the Gutenberg printing press mechanized the reproduction of text, stripping the clergy of their absolute monopoly on written information. With time, physical navigation and knowledge decentralized into the hands of the public. The rigid medieval hierarchy could no longer contain human ambition. This ambition fueled the Italian city-states, where former commoners like the Medici family used their wealth to build a new secular power. They championed humanism, a perspective that prioritized individual achievement and empirical observation over ancient tradition. In Florence, Filippo Brunelleschi applied this empirical mindset to architecture, using resurrected classical math to engineer a dome considered physically impossible for centuries. The Renaissance wasn't a sudden departure from the past. It was the harvest of the technological and economic groundwork laid during the Middle Ages. Urbano Monte's 1587 map is the physical evidence of this change, a world defined by the individual's ability to measure and record his own reality. We moved from a map that illustrated our spiritual limitations to one that charted the reach of human potential. The tools that stripped the upper estates of their monopoly on information and movement didn't just change the economy, they changed the scale of human agency. By the time Monte drew his map, the individual had replaced the divine as the primary lens through which we view the world.